Most Channel Islanders were still in their beds when the crew of the Jersey fishing smack Jersey Belle put out from Goree Harbour, and by the time the first dredge of prayers had been tipped onto the tossing deck, the sun was only just breaking through cloud above the horizon. For Bob Viney, farmer of the sea, the day begins when the cattlemen on shore are just beginning to tend to their herds. 3.5 miles due east of Goree is the Anket Banks, an area rich in seafood which Jersey fishermen have up till present left untapped. Prayers by the million lie in 60 feet of water. They are king-size cockles as sweet as oysters and truly a nourishing fruit of the sea. Every 20 minutes, 2 steel dredges are winched up from the seabed, emptied and returned. Meanwhile, on deck, the 3 hands sort and clean the catch. Kneeling in the scuppers, the waves often crashing over their heads, leading hand John Shales and crewmen Bob Colonet and Ian Stewart often spend 8 long hours in this routine, which means another variety of seafood for the tables of Channel Islands gourmets. If Skipper Viney's predictions are correct, then the potential wealth of these fishing grounds could mean a higher earning power for Jersey's professional all-the-year-round fishermen. But as yet, prayers are still a relatively unknown quantity with the Jersey household. If they can be dredged in such large quantities, a new market has to be created. I asked Bob Viney more about his new industry. How far would you say the prayer beds stretched?
Well, it's hard to say really. I should imagine from here they stretch about 8 mile along, running north and south, and right to the French coast. You know, up towards the berths and across this way, across to the east.
How come no Jersey fisherman has ever caught on to cockle fishing before?
Well, it's a fairly new fishing, a type of fishing from Granville, 2 or 3 year old. I don't think they've really gone into it, but you know, they've been busy making pots in the winter, and they haven't sort of had suitable boats to go on this cockle.
And I notice from the dredge every time it comes up that you're fishing on virtually coral at this point here. It's a big coral reef that runs along here, is it?
Well, I think it's very coarse shell gravel and with coral growing amongst it. And it seems as though the prayers live amongst that type of gravel.
You've been at this now for the last 6 weeks, haven't you?
Yes, yeah.
Would you say that a ton a day, which is what you're getting, is a better than average catch as far as the French are concerned that have been fishing down here for 2 years?
No, I would say it would be about average, between 1,800 weight and a ton a day.
Is there sufficient demand in the Channel Islands for prayer? Because although we are Northern French people, we seem to have lost a lot of the French habits, among them being the need for seafood.
Well, I think there'd probably be quite a demand in the Channel Islands for them if the people knew what they were.
Well, I've just tasted one, and I think that they're as good as oysters. Perhaps somebody will say I was wrong, but they're certainly very sweet tasting.
Well, in France, they're considered to be as good as oysters.
How long will this keep you busy for?
Well, this present winter, we'll be busy on this till April. Then we'll go lobster potting again and commence probably in October till the following April.
So really you're pioneering an industry which which has lied dormant on the seabed about 4 miles from Jersey. Because you are the first Jersey fisherman to really go in for this, aren't you?
I believe so. I've never heard or been told that other people have gone from here. Well, I'm sure if people like oysters, they'd like these prayers.
Another thing, the Jersey housewife will have to become educated as to the way to prepare them, to cook them.
Yes, they're not difficult to prepare, and it'd be easy enough to get recipes to cook these prayers, or eaten raw, a sauce with them.
Yeah. When the international agreement on fishing limits comes into force at the end of this year, this will give you, as a Jersey fisherman, just that little bit more scope, won't it?
Yes, probably another 20 square mile of the type of ground to catch prayers on.
Because at the moment we've got about 40 Frenchmen running down and fishing sometimes alongside you.
Oh yes, some days we've counted as many as 40 fishermen from Granville and Carteret fishing quite close to us.
And this is just on the limit, isn't it, really?
Yeah, we're just 3 miles off the coast at the moment.
How long have you yourself been fishing for a living professionally?
Approximately 16 or 17 years.
Have you found it more rewarding as the years have come on, or more difficult, with more competition perhaps from other people?
Oh, no, I wouldn't say that it's altered very much. If anything, we may be doing a little bit better than we did 10 years ago.
One thing I have noticed, and that is you certainly have to invest more in your industry now. Your boat here represents probably £5,000 outlay, than is your gear. So really you're very much on a parallel to a land farmer, aren't you?
Oh yes, the more you invest in your business and the more you learn about it, obviously the better you'll do.
Do you find it a big responsibility having a boat like this and a crew that, after all, have got to earn a living and got to be paid well to come out in all kinds of weather? Do you find it a big responsibility to you personally as skipper?
Well, I did at the beginning, but now that I'm quite used to it, I just take it as it comes.
What about the times when you have a run of bad weather and you just can't get out? Is this a case of no fishing, no pay for your crew?
Oh yes.
That's a kind of hereditary thing, is it, in the fishing industry?
Yes, and on shares, if we get a good week, it's up to them to put a few pounds aside for when we get a bad week.
Back alongside in Gorey Harbour, skipper and crew land their catch. 1,800 weights of prime shellfish, the results of 10 hours' labour tossing on a choppy sea. This catch came from an area only a few hundred yards square. The best location was found by a trial dredge. A marker buoy was dropped and the vessel circled that buoy for hour upon hour. Although no survey of the seabed has ever been made of this area by the cockle fishermen, it's estimated that the beds are several feet deep, probably building up for more than 100 years. Acres upon acres of rich food, or in local terms, vergees of prayers. Captain William Furzer, the former harbour master for Jersey, is cooperating with Skipper Viney in this new venture. Because of the immediate limitations of sales in the Channel Islands for the consistently good catches, they're looking farther afield, to Billingsgate, the centre of Britain's retail fish trade. Samples are being sent to London, and within a short while, the market reactions will show whether London housewives will buy the king-size prayer, which she knows as the Cockney cockle. But meanwhile, to safeguard himself and his crew, and of course his investment in the daily catch, Skipper Viney is stockpiling. Prayers will keep fresh for 5 days out of water, but to cater for the market demand later in the year when he gets back to his lobster potting, he's having the surplus catches bottled at a Jersey cannery. For fresh consumption, prayers can be eaten raw like oysters, or cooked like scampi, or prepared with a rich garlic sauce. But for bottling, the process is the same as for the gigantic seaside fish stall trade of Britain's holiday coasts. Pickled, that is. In the past fortnight, this firm has processed 3 tons of locally caught prayers. Again, this could mean another export. Or it could be another delicacy for the holidaymaker in Jersey, provided it's not reduced to the beach stall standard of some British resorts. For pickling, the process is simple. 100 weights of live prayers are tipped or shoveled into a vat of boiling water. Within 3 minutes, the shells have opened, and part cooked, they're ready for hand sorting. It seems unusual that the Jersey fisherman hasn't before realised the potential of these banks just a few miles offshore from Gorey and St Catherine. Low water cockling has been carried out on a semi-commercial basis from time to time, but dredging in 60 feet where the prayers abound in their millions is something completely new. And it was only because the French fleets from Granville and Carteret put to sea to dredge on Jersey's doorstep, so to speak, that the far-sighted skipper Bob Viney realised there was money to be made not far below the surface of the sea. Women employed in the canning and bottling plant pick the prayers from their shells or riddle the shells in a sieve. From a gallon of prayers of the quality dredged up from the vicinity of Grun-le-Feuve, a rock named after an ancestor perhaps, one can expect to get a pint of good food. The yield is high, the product acceptable to the palate, and from these small beginnings, with just one boat dredging, just one catch being preserved, it could develop into an even richer harvest. Each year, the demand for food from the land grows. The Channel Island farmer searches for advanced methods to get more production from smaller areas, but the fisherman, who at the moment provides only a minute percentage of the potential food wealth from the Channel Islands waters, has done little to expand his scope. In Guernsey, the Talina Fisheries Report could provide the clues to better returns for Guernsey's fishing fleet. But here in Jersey, it was only a chance dredge 6 weeks ago on a seabed within sight of Goree which gave Skipper Viney the start to what could become a really big business. Ready for sterilisation, last weekend's surplus catch of prayers from the fishing smack Jersey Belle goes into the retort which will seal the jars. 1 year from now, someone, either in Jersey or could be even on the seafront at Fleetwood, might open a jar bearing the Jersey label and sample what is to them a king-size cockle. Is this the beginning of a new facet in the Channel Islands fishing industry? An industry which has traditionally been closely associated with farming the land. Maybe the Jersey prayer will become almost as popular as the Jersey new potato, the Guernsey tom, or premium Channel Islands milk. Everything, after all, has a very small beginning.